Scindia Palace or Jaivilas Palace was established in 1874 by Jayajiraj Scindia, the ruler of the princely state of Gwalior during British Raj. This is a three-story white-colored palace covering three sides of a huge lawn. Half portion of the right side made into the museum named as Jayajirao Museum. This Rolls-Royce railway coach displayed outside the palace was bought by Madhavrao Scindia I in 1905 to inspect the city of Gwalior. The entry ticket to the museum is Rs 300, but the displayed items are so fascinating that the amount you spend is worth of every rupee. Scindia family basically have a Maratha origin. During the time of Peshwa Bajirao I, Ranauji Scindia, a commander in Bajirao's army, was responsible for setting up Scindia rule. Much of the credit goes to Mahadji Scindia for shaping the first Scindia rule in the region of Gwalior. Mahadji was responsible for putting Badshah Shah Alam on the throne of Delhi in 1772. He was a great ruler and military strategist who later on successfully negotiated with British and became a princely state. Display of royal dresses. The headgear of royal family is quite interesting. The headgear is made of 60-meter long Chanderi silk. It requires years of practice for a person to acquire the special skill to make this intricately designed turban. You can guess what level of skill is required to make a turban from a piece of cloth of 180 feet long without use of a single pin. रॉयल फैमिली का ही है मतलब जो अच्छा अच्छा This gallery is dedicated to Madhavrao Scindia, who was born in 1945 and died in a plane crash in 2001. He was a politician who switched over from Jansang to Congress in 1980 and became close to Rajiv Gandhi, who made him railway minister in the year 86 to 89, and during the regime of Narasimha Rao he became aviation minister from 90 to 92. The banquet hall, mostly catered to European guests, has capacity to feed 150 persons. There is a miniature train made of silver which could wheel over the table carrying champagne and cigar to guests. This is known as TAAT Bhojan Hall for Indian royal family guests to dine in Desi style, sitting in the ground. Darbar Hall is the main attraction of Jaivilas Museum. It is said that during construction of Darbar Hall, 8 elephants were suspended from ceiling to estimate if the roof can take 2 gigantic chandeliers, each of them 12.5 meter high and weighing 3500 kg. Today we are going towards Agra. En route we will cover Bateswar group of temples and Chaushatti Jogini Mandir. From Gwalior the road distance is 40 km. The restoration of Bateswar group of temple is a fascinating story. The challenge was not only to solve a big puzzle of thousands of broken pieces of stones to rearrange them into a cluster of temples around 200 in numbers, but also to fight with the local mafias and dacoits. Much of the credit for restoration goes to Mr. K.K. Muhammad and his team from ASI Gwalior division. When K.K. first visited this place in early 2000, it was a heap of ruins. Mr. Muhammad took it as a challenge to reshape the thousands-year-old complex to regain its past glory. It was like a big jigsaw puzzle to arrange thousands of broken pieces together to build the temples. During planning and survey stage of the restoration work, he was confronted with local dacoits like Rambabu Gujjar and 2-3 other prominent gangs operating in that region. These guys have a base in this arid rocky region of this part of Chambal. The dacoit community was skeptical about the real will of the head of a team who has a Muslim identity. He convinced them by telling that these ruined temples were built during 10th century by Gujjar Pratihar dynasty, who were the forefathers of these Gujjar clan dacoits. From 2005 to 2015, a dedicated team painstakingly worked to restore around 60 temples. The locals told me that all work has been stopped after Mr. Muhammad got transferred. There were some twists and turns in the whole story of restoration. Immediately after restoration work taken in 2005, the major dacoit gang were gunned down by MP police. After the area was devoid of dacoits, the local mafias became active in land mining, which requires blasting. Few temples fell flat due to blasting in nearby areas. Mr. Muhammad, in his own capacity, wrote to the then Mr. K.K. Sudarshan, the RSS chief, who immediately wrote letter to the cultural minister Ombika Soni. The year was 2007 and BJP was in power in MP. Confrontation between the illegal mafia mining gang and district police got murkier in next few years, with murder of SP of Modena district by the gang in 2009. Government took the matter seriously and relentless effort was put to stop the mining activity completely for the time being. But on the way I found mining activities are going on. During excavation, the small reservoir was found with scattered stone pieces. After restoration, water from nearby place filled it with water, suggesting that once upon a time it was the main water source for the temple complex. Inside the place, there are scattered stone pieces here and there, which suggest that the restoration work is yet to be complete. Most of the small temples in this complex are Shiva temples. This temple in front of me is the largest one in the complex The ruins in the top of this temple suggests that there has not been any restoration work done yet for this temple. The caretaker appointed by ASI informed me that when ASI first visited here, this was the only surviving temple standing intact amongst the ruin. You can see the carving of Garud on the middle of the upper slab of the door, which suggests that this temple was dedicated to Lord Vishnu. Amidst the scene of green and grey, the vermilion covered statue of Hanuman with Kamdeva and Rati under his feet stands out. To promote Bateswar, MP government is organizing a musical festival on 14 March 2022.
কিচ্ছু করার নেই, আর নাথিং টু ডু, বেচারা এটা মহাবাজি।
Just 2 kilometers away from Bateswar on the side of main road, I found a fort-like structure. The name of this place is Gari Padavali. After parking the car by the side of the main road, we entered the pathway leading to the temple. Inside the complex, the main temple is no more existing. The existing structure is actually the front Mukhamandapam of a temple built around 8th or 9th century. The surrounding fort-like wall was actually built at a much later date in 19th century during the Jat rulers of Godh. The intricately designed carvings inside the temple wall and the pillars have a 3D effect. Now we are heading towards Chaushatti Jagini temple, which is around 5-6 kilometers from Gari Padavali. Local transport. The temple is situated on a hill. This 11th century Shiva temple, built by Kachapghata dynasty, known as Chaushatti Jagini temple. It is at the center of an interesting debate. It is widely believed by many archaeologists that the round shape of the temple inspired Sir Edward Lutyens and Herbert Baker to design the circular shaped Parliament House in New Delhi. There is no entry fee in these three places, Mitwabali, Gari Padavali and group of temples at Bateswar. We have to climb up around 200 stairs to reach the top of the flat hillock where the temple is situated. The temple is said to be dedicated to 64 yoginis and have 64 small chambers in the inner periphery of the circle. Most of the chambers adorn Shivalinga. I walked down the entire circle through a circular veranda. At the center of the circle, there exists a Shiva temple, which is being worshipped today, even today also. There is hardly any tourist visible, partly because of Corona scare and partly due to the fact that tourists are not aware of these old treasures of our country. After driving around 25 kilometers, we entered the main highway NH94 near Morena. Now we are heading towards Agra. In this short span, we have to cross 3 states, that is MP, Rajasthan and then UP. I stopped the car after crossing Chambal river which is dividing the states of Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. That is the beautiful ravine visible from highway. Ravines made this place inaccessible to police and an easy place to hide for the famous Chambal dacoits.